I'm Aiden.
And I'm Jason.
And this is the Cedar Log.
In the 1940s, Delmont Lodge suffered a lack of leadership as men were called to fight in World War II. Due to this, all records of the lodge prior to 1945 were lost. However, a lodge newspaper called the Delmont Lodge News was published till 1943, despite wartime disorganization and rationing. Interestingly, during the war years, vigil candidates were given war savings bonds.
In 1946, the lodge went back to normal and worked on various projects. Of note, the lodge completed extensive trail work and built a new campfire area across from Schweiger Lodge. This new campfire area had a dirt stage, lighting, and a sound system.
In 1947, Lake Long was built and the landscape of Camp Delmont was greatly changed. The Bridge of Smiles was extended to cover the new lake, and an OA banner was flown on it. The banner had a large A with an arrow sewn on it.
Also in 1947, a non-request was made to the Lodge Executive Committee. A chapter requested that William Ward, a former candidate for the ordeal, be given ordeal membership posthumously. Ward had died while giving unselfish service during the Sun Oil Company fire of 1946. This is the only record case of Delmont Lodge giving leadership posthumously.
In 1948, the OA was completely integrated into the scouting program. Thus, all lodges became a part of the camping service of their council. In 1949, the lodge moved the ceremonial site to the east side of camp, across from Lake Long. The new site was on top of a ridge and had 3 totem poles. Since the site was next to Topsail Lodge, the building served as the lodge house.
Chapters would say that Topsail, when they came to camp for the weekend, and inside the cabin was a book with a list of service projects to do around camp. Unfortunately, in 1966, Topsail and other cabins on the east side of Delmont were torn down.
In 1948, the lodge built the present gateway at Delmont. The stone used in the gateway was scavenged from the old stone farmer fences scattered all over camp. The lodge also built Gate Lodge, which is the home of the current Musser Scout Reservation Ranger.
In 1949, ceremonies were once again held during the summer camp after being on pause due to the war. Also, at this time, the council acquired Camp Wunderland, located in Rossland. The camp belonged to the Wunderland Candy Company, and several Delmont Lodge members cleared an arrow site at the camp. Thus, ceremonies were also held at Camp Wunderland.
However, the council also owned Rancocas Sea Scout Base, and the lodge looked into building an arrow site there. But due to a lack of firewood and hordes of bloodthirsty mosquitoes, no site was ever built.
Also, in 1949, Dr. Goodman requested that lodges send him rocks for the construction of a fireplace in his barn at his home in Connecticut. Thus, Delmont Lodge sent him a stone with Delmont Lodge 43 engraved on it.
In 1952, the lodge took on the project of beautifying Wilbur Rock by clearing trees and underbrush. Also during this year, the lodge planted 12,000 pine seedlings all over Delmont.
In 1953, the National Committee awarded the ordeal and pre-ordeal ceremonies, and in defiance, Delmont Lodge published its own book of ceremonies for the ordeal. However, the National Committee quickly stepped in and ended the use of the book. Also, in 1953, the lodge made improvement to the health center, Topple's cabin, and Bridge of Smiles at Delmont.
With the purchase of Resica Falls in the late 50s, yet another arrow site was constructed by the lodge. However, since Resica Falls was a joint venture between the Valley Forge and Philadelphia councils, Delmont and Unami Lodge would split the costs of the new arrow site. The site was overhauled to prepare for the 1973 conclave. Troops brought up rocks from Camp Delmont for construction on the site. New benches were added, and a bronze plaque was added to the podium.
In 1956, the lodge pledged $2,500 for the new docks as a part of the larger capital campaign conducted by the council in the late 50s.
In 1960, the arrow site at Delmont was moved back to the west side of camp and was moved to a location behind Schweiker Memorial Lodge. The site was rebuilt in 1968 and dedicated on June 15, 1969 by Dr. E. Erner Goodman during the Area 3A conference.
In 1963, the lodge helped with enlarging the campsites and with the construction of patrol sites at Delmont. The lodge continued its cheerful service by raising money for the purchase of new canoes and rowboats. The lodge also built and staged for reservation-wide campfires at Russica Falls.
Also in 1963 at NOAC, co-founder and first member Henry M. Fawcett received the Distinguished Service Award, which is the highest recognition in our order.
In 1967, the lodge gave $2,000 for construction of the cook's cabin at Delmont. The lodge would give another $2,000 the following year for latrines at Delmont, and the lodge event gave the council cement mixer to complete the project.
In 1978, the lodge rewired Cedar Pool and began a major project to combat the erosion at Delmont. Thus, eroded paths were filled, banks of earth built to stop rushing rainwater, and other tasks were completed in this project.
In 1979, the lodge paid $500 for the production of a camp promotion record, and these records were given to every scout in the council. One of our advisors, Mike Comfort, still has one of these records.
Of note, the lodge had a newspaper of various names throughout the years. In the 1940s, it was simply called the Delmont Lodge News, but was renamed to Lenape Lines in 1953, and changed again to WWW in 1960. Then, only 3 years later, the lodge newspaper was renamed to the Lod Newell, and this lasted for 15 years until it was renamed the Spirit.
The Cedar Log is a production of the Unami Lodge History Committee, hosted by Aiden and Jason, video by Luke and Reese, audio editing by Luke, and script by Mike Comfort and Reese.